Welcome to the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Hajar, marketing consultant for female founders and creator of the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. I've helped dozens of women grow and scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures and beyond, helping founders like you to implement my proven growth system that focuses on brand communication, marketing strategy, building your lean team, and leadership. On this podcast, we talk all about what it takes to get to the next level in marketing and in life, focusing on practical, tactical advice that will help you grow your business and explode your revenue. Are you ready to learn? Let's dive in. Ever feel like your marketing budget is stretched too thin while you're trying to make a big splash? Today, we're unlocking the secret sauce to high impact, low cost marketing channels that promise massive returns without breaking the bank. Welcome back to the Scalable Marketing Machine, the podcast where we dive deep into strategies that turn marketing dollars into real results. I'm your host, Victoria Hajar, and today we're about to embark on a journey to uncover the secret weapons of the marketing world, channels that promise the biggest bang for your buck without draining your wallet. Imagine this. You're a founder with a vision and passion and a tight marketing budget. You know you need to get the word out about your amazing product or service, but you're afraid and you're overwhelmed because there's so many marketing channels to choose from. So where do you invest your precious dollars to get the most bang for your buck? Well, that is exactly what we're talking about in today's episode. And we're going to talk about 5 marketing channels that you can invest your time, energy, and effort into that's going to give you the highest return of your investment. So 5 marketing channels that are going to give you the biggest ROI bang for your buck. So the first one is content marketing. So if you're not already leveraging content marketing, you are missing out in one of the most powerful budget-friendly channels that are available. Now, I do want to caveat this with the fact that content marketing, when done incorrectly or not done strategically, could be a huge drain of time, energy, and effort. And one of the mistakes that I've made, and a lot of other people that I see making with content marketing, is kind of just putting the train, like setting the train on its way, and not necessarily being strategic enough with the content as trends and algorithms change. So for me, and this is something that I had to catch myself with a couple months ago, actually, is that, if you're not constantly checking in with your strategy and keeping up with trends, not A/B testing, you're going to find that your content is just simply not effective enough. So when we talk about leveraging content marketing, it can be an incredibly effective tool and really great in driving leads and sales, but only if you give it the time, energy, and attention that it needs. Okay, it's not effective enough to just set a strategy, maybe the same strategy that you've been using for years and years, and just expect it to keep producing the same results, right? We need to be checking in with our content marketing strategy constantly and making sure that we're keeping on top of not only industry trends, but the ways that things change, right? So when we talk about content marketing, we're talking about blogs, we're talking about any videos that you're using, any downloadables, lead magnets that you have. This is such a wonderful way in which you can add value. But again, things like, how to be structuring your blog posts, for example, have changed tremendously with AI in the past couple of years, right? What is going to give you the best bang for your buck is really keeping on top of what's going on in the market, right? So it's not just like a set it and forget it, because writing blogs in 2015 is quite different than it is in 2024, for example. So you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping track with how everything is changing and making sure that your team is doing that as well. So a lot of marketing things we tend to delegate that, right, to virtual assistants or marketing managers, and we expect that they're staying on top of these trends, but that's not necessarily the case. So now we're going to talk about the next on our list, which is social media marketing, right? So I'm differentiating that a little bit from content marketing. Content marketing is going to be your overarching strategy, which you can implement into all of these various things that I'm talking about. And again, we want to make sure that we're up to date with what's trending, right? Now, if we kind of go into more nuance of that content marketing strategy, we want to make sure we're focusing obviously on social media marketing. But how do we avoid wasting time, energy, and effort in social media marketing? Well, the very first thing we need to do is make sure that we are focused on just one social channel at a time. And the reason why I say this is many businesses that I've worked with, and again, I've also fallen into this trap of just being everywhere, right? That you just want to be available. And now with social scheduling tools, it's easier than ever to just have all of your content be pushed out across many different channels. But here's the problem. What I tend to see, and I've seen this in my own business, is that when you're simply just pushing things out across all different channels, is that you're not actually getting traction on any of those channels, right? So what I suggest, especially for the B2B businesses that I work with, who tend to not be maybe, focused on lifestyle as part of their content strategy, right? A lot of time my B2B clients kind of scratch their heads what they should be doing with social media marketing. Social media marketing can be incredibly effective for B2B. I'm here on LinkedIn. This is where I record the podcast on LinkedIn Lives every week. I love LinkedIn as a social platform, but B2B businesses can do incredibly well on TikTok, on Instagram, right? It's just about where do you put your time, energy, and effort, and how strategic you are in the content that you create. So one thing that I would say is make sure that you know what growth looks like on one platform before you start trying to grow on all of the platforms. And one of the summer reading books that I always recommend is Gary Vee's newest book that's called Day Trading Attention. Really goes into the nuances of what it takes to win on social media. And one of the things that he advises, which is one of those obvious things that honestly I hadn't really thought that much about, is really getting to know the platform that you choose as your sort of main platform inside and out. Know all the ways in which you are sharing content on that platform, all of the tools that are available to you on the platform, what content is working or not working. Make sure that you or a dedicated person on your team is not only pumping out content on that social platform, but spending time being actually social on the platform, right? Connecting with people or following people, being in the comments, not only replying to comments on your post, but actually going and being social on with other brands and with prospects, right? There's this social component that I think many of us that haven't experienced massive growth on social channels can also be linked back to the idea of not putting in the time to be actually social on the platforms. The platforms pay you back. The algorithm pays you back if you actually use the social platforms as a social platform. And I think with the inception of so many of these scheduling tools, we've gotten really disconnected from what these social platforms are all about, right? Which is they want you to be on the platform. They don't want you to just be you or your brand just to be posting and leaving, right? The way that you're going to be rewarded by the social platform, and all of these platforms work the same, is by actually putting in the time to grow. And this means you, yourself, or a dedicated person on your team showing up for 1 to 2 hours on the platform every single day in order to build that momentum. This is just the work that it takes. And honestly, it's something that I didn't realize till quite recently, right? And back in the day, I think there was a moment where you could set it and forget it, and you could just be showing up and just merely pumping out content and showing up was enough. But unfortunately, nowadays, that's not enough, right? Social media is so, I think, is so inundated. There's so many brands. There's so many companies that are vying for our attention and advertising to us, that the truth of the matter is that not only do we need a killer content marketing strategy, but we need better content, and we actually need to utilize these platforms, be physically present, right? Either you or a dedicated person on your team, in order to see the results, right? Not just growth results, but also opening up those opportunities and those leads. Okay, so first we want a killer content strategy. right? Overarching. Number two, leveraging social media marketing. The third one is email marketing. Now, email marketing is often underestimated. I think people tend to have some mixed feelings about email marketing. A lot of founders that I work with inside of the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator, which is my one-to-one program where I work with founders to help scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures. A lot of the founders that I work with there, they still hold on to this idea that they don't want to bother people. So I don't want to send too many emails. Maybe they don't personally like receiving emails, so they don't, again, this notion of bothering people. But the reality is, and statistics, I've seen different statistics, but prospects need to see your brand and kind of hear your elevator pitch. I believe it's upwards of 12 times before it even starts registering in their mind that connection between their problem and your solution. Like, our attention span is so short. I think actually I read something recently that our attention span has now become shorter than that of a goldfish. This may be like fake news, but anyway, I believe it. I believe it because we are so inundated with messages over and over and over again from brands, and we're constantly kind of scanning the room to find that value. I don't know if you've seen this shift. I think in the past like 2 years, where we've really become the way that we consume content is a little bit different, right? In the past, we used to be more about following individual people or following individual brands, right? And that's kind of what we would be served on social media. But nowadays, algorithms are serving us things that they think that we're interested in, right? And you're going to get a lot of the same type of content, right? So me on Reels or on YouTube Shorts, for example, it's so easy to see, and do this for yourself or just pay attention is when you open it. I keep getting served the same stuff. I love recipes, so I'm just tons of recipes. I love interior design. I get a ton of that. I will occasionally find myself watching, restoration of furniture and stuff like that. And that's all I see. That is all I see because the algorithm sees that that's what I'm interested in. They keep serving it to me. So what does that mean for you for social? That means that you need to be very intentional about what kind of value-based content that you're sharing with your audience. You want it to be consistent and constantly mapping that value to the questions, the problems that your prospect has. And again, making sure that your content is valuable, right? So going back to email marketing, what does that mean for email marketing? So this idea of not wanting to bother people, I think is a little bit irrelevant because, if people don't want to hear from your brand, they're going to unsubscribe. And you can see product-based companies, if you subscribe to Target or J. Crew or whatever, you're going to get emails every single day, maybe even multiple times a day, right? And the fact of the matter is that there's going to be folks that either keep it in their inbox or they unsubscribe. Or maybe there's a lot of folks that keep it in their inbox and they just delete. And I love to share this little juicy tidbit, this pro tip. I really believe that having that email in the inbox is so important, regardless if people click and open it and even click into it. You have to think of the inbox as being almost like a billboard. So when your email shows up with your company name, it's almost just like an advertisement placement, right? Deleting that email is still a positive action as long as they don't unsubscribe, right? And the way that you keep people subscribed to your emails is that you want to be offering real value in those emails. And emails still perform incredibly well. It's a more intimate place where you can build relationships with folks. And it's also a place where you make direct sales and get direct leads. Social media, we can't just rely on it because each of those individual platforms, and when you're talking about, whether you're talking about Instagram or TikTok or even LinkedIn, the real business objective of all of those companies is to keep us on the platform. That's why we have a lot of barriers to entry when it comes to posting links on, we can only have one link on a post a lot of times, or we can only have one link on our profile, because the platform actually doesn't want us jumping off the platform a bunch of times to go to a website, right? But email is a place where you can have really targeted messaging, and you can send people exactly where you want them to go. You can actually control that journey beautifully, that buyer's journey, through your email content marketing strategy. And email is very, very low cost. If done well, it could be very effective. And that's the caveat to all of these things. If you get good at any one of these things, it can drive massive results for your business. Okay, so we're talking about 5. We already mentioned 3. Now we're moving on to 4, which is SEO. Okay, so search engine optimization, SEO. It goes well beyond search engine, in my opinion. Now we need to be focusing not only on SEO for search, right? Okay, SEO, search is in the title of it, but SEO is also important for some social platforms, right? I think, and this is not my original idea, this is Gary Vee talks about this a lot, but I agree, is that in the future, our search is going to be primarily on social. And you can see it already. Look at your own habits. If I want a recipe, or I want to learn how to, do some kind of DIY in my home, or if I want to learn about a certain, SaaS product or tool that I could be using to make my workday easier, I go right to YouTube. Like, YouTube is where I go. I know a lot of people also search directly on Instagram, right? Search on social is going to become more and more important. And we already see TikTok really led the charge with this, where, the search function in TikTok is probably is the most sophisticated among the social platforms. But YouTube also has a very powerful search engine. Why is that important to us? Well, when we optimize our social posts, the SEO, the actual words, the hashtags, but even more so the words that we use in the copy of our social posts, as the search engine feature becomes more and more sophisticated on these social platforms, it just means that our content is going to live on. And it's also going to have that compound interest of kind of paying us back maybe years later. So traditional SEO, and if you talk to anyone that's has executed a long-term SEO strategy, I'm talking about founders that have built in SEO as part of their core strategy for years, will tell you that that momentum just builds and builds and builds to the point where 5 years or 10 years into their business, maybe 60, 70, 80% of their overall traffic comes from organic search. That's awesome. That is free traffic, free leads, right? Possibly free leads. So the leveraging SEO for social is going to be the same, where your content will live on, the value that you put out will live on. And so you could be getting leads or traffic from those social posts years beyond that piece of content being made. And again, the proof is in the pudding. You can see it when you search something on YouTube. Oftentimes you'll be delivered videos that are not the most recent. Okay. I've gotten incredible value out of videos that are 2, 3, 5, 10 years old, as long as the content is still relevant and good. And also a lot of times that particular video being optimized, right? That the description is clear in describing what the video is about, and it is utilizing those keywords that's going to connect with your ideal customer. So I would not ignore search engine optimization as part of your channel strategy, right? And this could be free. This could be you investing your time, energy, and effort in learning how to craft content that is SEO optimized and making sure that your team implements that. Or you can invest a little bit of money. There's wonderful people that I've hired on Fiverr, to be honest, to optimize my videos on YouTube, to optimize my website. It can be a very low cost investment, but can yield you incredible results. But it also does pay to learn yourself and understand how it all works, right?
Okay, so moving on to the fifth and final channel that I would recommend to maximize your ROI, and that is partnerships. So there's a lot of different kind of partnerships that we can talk about here. We can talk about brand partnerships, influencer partnerships, but the real the real thing I want to focus on here is OPA, leveraging other people's audiences. And this often can be, again, the low cost and no cost way to get into tons of right fit prospects and invite them into your world and let them know about your brand. And the key here is to be finding partners that have that are not competitive, but they have the same prospective client. They have the same. You guys have the same target client, right? So, what I like to do for any founder that I'm working with and mentoring, we like to do a mind map where we can list out. I would say I like to say Dream 100. This is a concept taken from Russell Brunson, where you list out the 100 dream influencers or partners that you would love to work with, right? And you start knocking down the list of actually contacting them, right? Contacting them, seeing if you could host events together or host virtual events together, or host workshops together, or to do some kind of email swap or exchange. There's so many different ways that you can work with partners that would be virtually free if people are kind of in a similar growth level than you. You could actually grow brick by brick, follower by follower, lead by lead, just partnering with folks that are in the similar stage of business to you, similar audience size, and you just grow bit by sharing each other's brands, businesses, solutions, services with each other's audiences. And oftentimes that is totally free. And the tactical, practical thing to do is build that Dream 100 list. Just, take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, fire up Google and look at, what are the podcasts, the brands, the conferences, the events, the communities, all of the possible places that your ideal client hangs out, or the people that they follow and they pay attention to, and devise a strategy for just connecting with them, brainstorming ways to work together, ways in which that will be mutually beneficial to both of you. So all of these 5 ideas, right? First is building that content marketing strategy, building that engine. If you're having a hard time understanding what that content marketing strategy should look like, send me a DM, because that's one of my specialties, is to help founders develop content marketing strategies for their businesses. But you want to make sure that you have a solid content marketing strategy in place that is complementary to the needs, desires, wants, problems of your core target client, right? That ideal client avatar. Number 2, you want to leverage social media marketing. Again, low cost or no cost, just making sure that you produce high quality content. Number 3, email marketing. Very low cost to get CRM. In fact, there's plenty of great free versions of CRMs like MailChimp that are incredibly effective to get you started. You just want to make sure that you're showing up consistently and do not worry about bothering people. Okay? Bothering people should be out of your mind. You want to be consistently communicating with people. And I recommend that you get in touch with people via email 1 time per week. 1 time per week is a beautiful cadence. It's a perfect cadence. It's that moment where you're going to be showing up, reminding people that you exist, and making sure that you are not just putting through promotional emails all of the time. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I have to unravel with many of the founders that I work with inside the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator, which is that, they find themselves maybe years, they're just sending promotional communications and they haven't built a viable community of prospects around their brand. They haven't built a real authentic connection with folks, because every time they're really talking to people in people's inbox, it's just for another sale and another promotion. And we need that balance of adding value. Yes, we have to ask for the sale. Yes, we should be sending promotions and offers through to our contacts, but we want to make sure that we're providing tons of value. Back to a Gary Vee quote, which is the give, 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 ask, which is his famous quote from the from his original book, Left Jab, Right Jab, Left Hook, Jab, 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 Right, right Hook book. But it's true, right? We want to be adding value, giving value, help making people's lives a better, making them better and easier as they relates to your product or service, and then asking for the sale. But have that balance. Number 4, search engine optimization, making sure that you invest in making sure that your website is user-friendly, great experience, right? That shows up awesome, load time, mobile, all of that stuff, but then also making sure that your website from the get-go is optimized for SEO, and then using that knowledge, right, and that strategy to also apply that to your social media posts, especially on TikTok and YouTube right now. But I guarantee if you invest the time in doing this for Instagram posts, for LinkedIn, the search engine functionality on these platforms are only going to get better and better. And I know the search of the future, the youngsters these days are probably going to be a lot less likely to search on Google and just head right over to social media platform. Sidebar here, something I really kind of stepped back and had a moment thinking about search engine optimization is I was recently on vacation in South Portugal in the Algarve. And instead of Googling Lonely Planet or any of these very reputable websites to figure out what to do while I was there, I just went directly to YouTube. And it was so much easier to digest like a 5-minute YouTube reel or a 10-minute video on the best things to do in South Portugal than having to filter through blogs or whatever from Lonely Planet. It was so overwhelming, those websites, right? So social media provided this quick, very high value response for the inquiry that I had. And it just really hit me. I used it myself, and I just think this is going to be the trend more and more in the future. So prepare yourself for it. And then last but not least, partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. So out of these 5 strategies, if you were kind of, you're running your business, you have that proof of concept, you're in this moment where you want to scale leads, you want to scale growth, and you have 0 to no budget, I would start with all of these things. But first and foremost, the fastest path to growth would by far be partnerships. Because if you can develop genuine relationships with folks that have bigger audience than you, and you can get in front of those audience. So that means speaking in front of other people's audiences, speaking at conferences, giving workshops. This could look as simple as going to places in real life and giving workshops for free, right? This is how you can begin to build that email list. If you have a very small list, right, and you don't want to, you don't want to invest in advertising, right, to grow that list. And these other strategies like social media, for example, that takes time to grow and get that momentum, right? So if you're sitting there saying like, I've got a small list, I've got not a lot of followers on social media, where do I start? Get inside communities, join membership communities, go to conferences, events, partners. Figure out how to just be in the physical space or the virtual space where your ideal client already hangs out. So that is it for this week. If you're ready to maximize the marketing ROI and end overwhelm in your business, then be sure to check out my free guide, which is the End Marketing Overwhelm Guide. You can grab that at Ugly Ventures, UGLIVENTURES, uglyventures.com/overwhelm. And that's going to give you the number 1 system that I implement for myself and all of the founders that I work with to systemize their marketing and help to free up their time so they can spend more of their time, energy, and effort focusing on driving revenue and leading their team to success. So thanks for tuning into this episode of the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast. If you found today's insights valuable, please make sure to subscribe. You can leave a review if you're listening on the podcast, or you can share this on LinkedIn if you're watching the LinkedIn Live. It would make me so happy to be spreading the love of this podcast. I show up each and every week to give some insights of the 10 plus years I've and all the lessons I've learned as a fractional chief marketing officer, marketing director for brands all over the world. And it is my biggest joy to help founders break through that 6 to 7 figure mark. And I would love to help you do that. So send me a DM if you have any other questions, but otherwise I will see you back here next week for the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast. See you then.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. Thanks for sticking around with me and listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate you as an audience member, and I hope that you found this helpful. If you did like this episode, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed, if you rate and review this podcast. It helps other people know that this podcast has something worth saying. It also would be super awesome if you could take a screenshot and share on Instagram and tag me at Ugly Ventures, UGLI Ventures, VENTURES. I am always so appreciative to hear from you, and I hope to see you back here next week